Okay, in this video, we are going to answer the question that plagues so many, which is, what is wrong with me? Whether you're a stressed mom, exhausted dad, disconnected partner, sensory processing kiddo, anxious, depressed teenager. And the answer is nothing, nothing. You just got to take a load off, okay? So we're going to jump right in to say, well, what's causing this load on giving these feelings of like overwhelm or anxiety or exhaustion or lack of the ability to communicate with each other, or kiddos being able to calm their bodies down, or teenagers having these emotional swings where nothing seems to make them feel better. It's simple. The emotional overload, the electronic overload, the electrical overload is caused by sin. And so sin, which is a super easy word that pretty much everyone knows, is more than just like a thing to guilt people to go to church, okay? It is an acronym for synthetic, immobile, and negative. So our brain produces electricity. Electrical signals then go back and forth via our nerves to control everything within our body. So the stress that we feel is what's called the allostatic load, the amount of electrical demand that our body can no longer handle. And so the things that increase that allostatic load is pretty much anything that increases our fight or flight response. So synthetic environment, anything unnatural. Go in nature, barefoot, outside, grounding. Oh, it's good for us. Healing. Well, yeah, no duh. It's because everything not outside nature is bad because our environment puts us either at ease or in a status of dis-ease or disconnection. So if you take a wild animal out of the nature that it grew up in, put them in a zoo, within 6 months they develop mental illness because our brain is made to perceive and adapt to nature. When you're not in nature, the brain has this heightened level of awareness that it has to know that everything's okay. It creates a high level of electrical demand. Second thing is immobility. For our species, Homo sapiens, people, the perfectly designed species made in the image of God, the ones that have lasted all the other human species, we don't have big claws, we don't have really sharp teeth, and we're not that fast. So how we survived is by being smart in nature for 300,000 years, 240,000 before they first showed signs of tools and weapons. And how we would do that is by continually being on the move, because predators would find us if we were not active. And this is why if you take a kid, you put them in a chair, in a desk, within 5 minutes, they are doing one of these numbers. And within 20 minutes, their ability to learn is pretty much dramatically reduced down to nothing. It's because it activates that fight or flight response, our nervous system saying, get up, move, don't just sit here. And so notable that sitting is the new smoking. They've been able to definitively show increased hours in sitting with increased risk of death and disease without exercise, regardless of exercise. And then third one, negativity. Negativity activates that amygdala, again, that fight or flight response. Even if it's a perceived danger, doesn't matter. It increases our electrical threshold. Think about the time where you had something on your mind, how exhausted that is by the end of the day. And if you are one of those people that are like, well, I'm not that negative, Harvard did a thought study where they looked at average thoughts for the average person. And on average, the average person has between 6,000 and 60,000 thoughts per day, 75% of them negative, 90% repeating. So really, this huge amount of sin in our life is this electrical demand within our system, and it creates an overloaded allostatic system. So in essence, circuit breakers blow. You overload the allostatic load, and then circuit breakers blown. Same thing with this building that's been perfectly designed. This has been designed to work in the average life, right? So I plug 2 things in that plug over there, it's fine. I plug a multiple strip plug in with a bunch of things, it's fine. I plug 2 strips in and load it up, it's going to overload that system. And so when you look on the picture here, every area of the spine then correlates to different things that are controlled within our electrical system. And so if you overload the upper cervical system, then what you have is anxiety, sinus issues, ear infections in kiddos. And going ahead a little bit further down, upper thoracic spine, bronchial issues, asthma, chest tightness, arm weakness, and then headed down to the lumbar spine, you have digestive issues, reproductive issues. Again, and it's not that there is some reason or cause for these areas. It's simply that the circuit breaker has been blown. Perfectly designed, we were meant to be in nature. We're not in nature anymore. We're in Kansas anymore. So that just like this building was designed for 2 plugs, our life, our sin has created so many plugs that it has overloaded our electrical system. So what's the solution? If you look at it, oh, my picture is blocking on this one. You eliminate the sin. You get rid of the synthetic environment, the immobility, and the negativity. Super easy peasy, right? Oh, yeah. Or you increase the capacity of the system by resetting those circuit breakers. You reset the circuit breakers. Now your brain makes changes so you can handle more of a load. In essence, it by resetting the circuit breakers, it upgrades the system to be able to handle more plugs. And then the question that people have is, how long does it take? Well, to give you an idea, if you want to start a workout program and get physiological changes within your body, you have to work out 3 times a week at minimum. For how long? 8 weeks. And if you want to continue to get change within the ligaments, meaning the foundational uh, cartilaginous or tendinous structures within our body, um, then takes an additional 8 weeks for the ligaments to start the healing process. Again, 3 times a week in order to get changes to occur. And if you really want to have complete ligamentous healing, you're looking at 2 years for ligaments to heal. And this is, again, at the point where people have like itises, bursitis, tendinitis, disc issues. Those are ligamentous structures. It takes 2 years for those suckers to then heal and change. So then, in order to then get to be a place where you can be a person that's healing, you're getting your circuit breakers reset, it's pretty much impossible, right? At a chiropractic clinic, they go in, they diagnose and treat these vertebral subluxation complex, these blown circuit breakers. They call it something different. I don't really know why. And then they treat them, right? They perform their chiropractic adjustments on them. And this is where it becomes impossible. It's pretty much on average $55 plus per visit. And again, if you have insurance, which everyone's mandated to have now, pretty much, maybe it covers it, maybe it doesn't. But sometimes if you have it covered, then insurance could change their mind and say, yeah, you know what, it was going to be covered, but now it's not. And you get stuck with these big bills. And then the final point of this slide is that we all kind of saw what happened during the pandemic. When the government decides what you can and cannot do, they're going to make the doctors follow their instructions. So this is pretty much where it's impossible. Everyone's load is so high, the allostatic load, and their circuit breakers are blown, and they need to get their circuit breakers reset, but they can't get in because they can't afford it. And maybe the government says, you can't go see that doctor anymore. And that's where it becomes impossible. And this is where we ended up being, because this is our story. Like, we had a very busy, successful chiropractic clinic. And for over a decade, I was the leading expert in Washington State for pediatric and family care. And it got to this point where I realized the synthetic immobility and then negativity had increased so rapidly during the pandemic that people just simply weren't getting their circuit breakers reset often enough. And they simply could not afford to do it. And then the advice that was given on how to stay healthy during the pandemic was absolutely nonsensical, which, as a healthcare provider, I felt bad lying to my patients and telling them, oh yes, piece of fabric's gonna stop a virus. And oh yes, getting this experimental vaccine is going to help you. When I knew that it was not. I knew that by adding something more synthetic to already overloaded system, whether it was masks or vaccines, the only outcome was going to be more of an allostatic load, causing more circuit breakers blown. So it got to this point where we ended up walking away from this whole model and going and living in the jungles of the Dominican Republic for close to a year. And it's there, immersed in nature, where I literally removed all sin from my life. In nature, I discovered the answer, the solution, and it's right here. This is the original symbol for Christ. It is the Cairo. And when I made decisions during the pandemic of whether I was going to wear a mask or not, I made decisions based on my belief in as a follower of Jesus. And not to get churchy about this, but that's what it rooted back to. And Jesus knew how to heal by hand, and he would not be forced to do something by the officials, regardless of what the consequences were. And so when I made those decisions, I was treated very much similar to how Christ was. I was investigated by government agencies. I was threatened with fines, jail time. And through that process, I was realizing that this whole model that we have of healthcare is not the model. We need to go back to a Christ-like model where Christ taught people how to do what he did. And I don't think it's coincidence that the first sign for Christ was the chiro, and that chiropractors are the ones that are practicing healing by hand. And so what I realized is what we don't need any more doctors. Everyone knows how to be a doctor. When you go to chiropractic college, you basically go to med school. Many of our teachers were taught at both the medical school at the University of Iowa and Palmer. And we learn how to be medical doctors, how to diagnose and know all these things and manage disease and have conversations like, smart doctors do. And where's that gotten us? Like $1 in $7 in the United States is spent on healthcare, and we're the sickest nation in the world, but yet we have the best doctors. We just need people that can heal by hand in order to help each other take a load off. Because simple truth, back to the beginning of this presentation, nothing is wrong with you. The circuit breaker isn't broken. It's being overloaded because of an overloaded life. You just need your circuit breaker reset. You just need support. You just need enough support often that you can increase your capacity to handle the load of your life. Because taking a trip halfway across the world to go live in the jungle is not really a viable option for everybody. So came back to this state of Washington because all these people that I love, all my patients, either care had become too expensive, they couldn't afford it anymore, so therefore they then discontinued, and they just got used to being overloaded and being sick and being inactive. And I was hit with this huge wave of guilt because during the pandemic, I always claimed like I'm just doing what Jesus would have done. I pointed fingers at churches. Well, they shut down, they masked up. Why didn't they demonstrate it? It's because they didn't know how to heal. They don't know how to heal by hand, so therefore they didn't have confidence in it. And then I had this question that really plagued me. It's like, if I claim to be like Jesus, well, it's like, well, how many disciples did I create? And what I realized is that I have a responsibility to pass on this knowledge that I have from 8 years of school, of going to chiropractic college, and realizing that part of that schooling was simply being able to identify where a circuit breaker is and teach other people how to reset it. Listen, as a doctor, basically the doctor is kind of like the structural engineer. The doctor knows how to put the concrete in. They know how to build the walls. They know how to run the wire. They know how to do everything to code. Like, you don't need that. You just need to be able to look at a circuit breaker and see, okay, that's wiggly, reset it. And that's how simple it is. And I came back and I had this whisper of an idea of teaching people how to do this. And within 2 weeks, people knew how to identify where the circuit breakers were and reset it. And as the guinea pig to these people, I then started to get chiropractic care from people that did not go to chiropractic college, but were trained by me. And my health stats with heart rate variability, which is the best indicator of how your circuit breaker is functioning, started to improve. After 4 years of pandemic stress and chronically being bad, my health stats improved, not by doctors, but by people that simply wanted to learn how to heal by hand. So we developed this chiropractic co-op. And the mission is to light up the world one well-adjusted family at a time. So if every family right now, adults know how to be medical doctors. They know if you have pain, take pain meds. If you have an infection, you take antibiotics. If you have a fever, take a fever reducer. So doesn't it make sense to teach people the opposite side of how to heal by hand? So every family, every person will know how to simply reset circuit breakers and allow the brain to then talk to the body and heal itself naturally. So that's the model. That is the mission. And the only way to do that is through a chiropractic co-op model where people are learning this very basic, very simple, but very important task. And so the way we priced it is I priced it basically what people would say they could afford before we closed the chiropractic clinic and opened this new model. really what people said, well, I can come in once a week. That's about $40 a week. So we priced it to be that. That's what, after hundreds of conversations, people said, at minimum, this is what we can budget, and which ends up being $173 per month for an adult. Kids are free. And then this also has a flexible schedule, which then allows the member to then decide their own care plan. And again, ideally, 3 times a week for ever is kind of like the same as a workout program, but it's up to them. They get to choose. They get to choose if they want to come in daily, or if they want to come in twice a day, 3 times a day, or be there every hour, or once a week. It's 100% them. You don't need someone to tell you what to do. You're the boss of your body. You're the boss of your health. You're the boss of your family's health if you're the adult and you have kids. And with that, though, we provide a community of support. So all the members are there to help each other. We do weekly meetups with different physical activities, whether it's a service project or it's a run, a group walk, or a sauna, cold plunge, whatever it is. We do weekly meetups to then create community and also teach health centered activities, if for those who want. And if you don't, it doesn't actually matter either. Again, you're the boss. And then we have the Symmetry Oasis. Like I said, when we left to go live in the jungles of the Dominican Republic, it's because we spent our life savings buying a 47-acre retreat center as a holistic hospital of sorts, where someone can come in and, like I did, completely remove all sin and be immersed in nature and have an intensive healing experience, where we also continue to teach the skill of healing by hand. So again, what is the sign that you are getting your circuit breakers reset often enough is moms will be naturally more happy. Dads will be more energized. They'll want to play with their kids. Partners won't have little pithy back and forth conversational miscommunications. They'll be aligned with communication. Kids will play. They will be light when they go into a room. They will add to a scenario by their joy, because that's how kids are naturally. And teenagers will be advanced, which will then set a whole new level for families around you. Because I don't know about you, but I felt like the last 4 years specifically, it's a lot of people telling each other what they should do. Experts, political leaders, healthcare leaders, community leaders, everyone's telling everybody else what they should do. But what I found is that when you can reset someone's circuit breakers enough and they get that load off, they know what's best. And then they're a light to shine that truth to other people. So if you would like more information, please send us an email at info@litup.global. Or if you have the time to come in, find the person who gave you this presentation and join them to come see what a chiropractic co-op's about. And if you're interested in joining, we'd be happy to have you join our team and become another person that's committed to lighting up the world by being a well-adjusted family. I'm Dr. Devin Brossard. Thank you for taking this last 20 minutes. And I hope to talk to you again real soon.